Hey, what's up, you guys? BDL44 coming at you with another video. So I was just about to hit the weed, and then it just dawned on me. The Houston Rockets have a worse record than the Los Angeles Lakers at 3-12 in the Western Conference. Now, I didn't check the Eastern Conference, who's at the bottom of that. I just didn't. I should have. But let's just assume that the Rockets end up with the worst record in the league and so happen to stumble on Wembanyama. Now, granted, that is the greatest thing ever for a Rockets fan. I mean, you just don't see that coming. You already have a fleet of lottery picks. The last thing you really need is yet another lottery pick. But I'll tell you this, if you land Wembanyama, he ain't going to be the one you let go of. He's not the one you prioritize the least, I can tell you that. So it's one of those situations where it's like, okay, if you're the Rockets and you get Wembanyama, now you're in a space where you have to give up lottery talent that you otherwise probably want to keep and pay. It becomes a really, really tricky situation for that particular franchise if they get that particular player. Because now you're looking at Alperen Sengun. Nobody in their right mind wants to give up Alperen Sengun. If you've been watching how Alperen Sengun's playing, you know that that's not the guy to let go of. No, you pay him his money, and then you expect to pay him more money when he's done at the end of that contract. That's who he's turning into being. Jabari Smith, his development isn't starting off as well as you want it to, but it's literally the first half of his first season. So obviously you don't know nothing about that kid at least for another 3 years, regardless of what happens right now. But he's still somebody you know that if he develops to be who he was drafted to become, that you're going to have $100+ million to give him off rip. And then you look over at Jalen Green. If you can't tell that's a $200 million player, I don't know what to tell you. Move on from him. JPJ. What's they call him? Kevin Porter Jr., KPJ. How do you keep him? I think they just extended him. He's already been paid, if I'm not mistaken. And if he hasn't been paid, just pencil him in for another $180, $200 million as well. And then you look at Terry Eason. Well, they lucked up in the draft with Terry Eason. Now you can clearly see he's going to be somebody, if given the right amount of minutes, get his $100 million ready as well. Look at a guy like Josh Christopher. You guys know what I think of Josh Christopher. He's an excellent player. You got to get his money ready, and unfortunately they haven't been able to showcase him properly in order to even show you that he's that kind of player. But I think he is going to be that type of player if he ever gets that type of role. Send him to the Lakers right now. He's going to be the best shooting guard on our team. So it is what it is, man. I'm looking at that Rockets team and say, they're going to have to give up some players, man. I didn't even name everybody. We didn't even get into Kenyon Martin. We didn't even get into some of these other players, man. Jae'Sean Tate. I don't know what the Rockets are going to do. But if you look up and realize they have the worst record in the Western Conference and legitimately could land Victor Wembanyama, they have to make moves. You can't stand still. What you going to have? Alperen Sengun coming off your bench? Jabari Smith coming off your bench? No, that's misallocation of assets. Now you've taken a lottery pick and turned it into like the 30th pick in the draft. That cannot happen. You got to make sure that never manifests. So I think the Houston Rockets could be a team that could potentially end up trading some young talent this season. As crazy as that sounds, they're well on their way to being a top candidate to get Victor. And if that's the case, his position is filled. And so it just has to simply not be. So obviously they're not to make the moves right now. Clearly you don't assume that you're going to get the first pick in the draft, so you start shaving away talent. But at the same time, it's like, on this pace, you are very well on par for a top 3 pick. Even if it ain't Victor Wembanyama, you still got the same problem because those picks are going to be very good players. Scoot Henderson, they get Scoot Henderson, they got the same problem. What happens with KPJ and Green? Like, you got Scoot coming off your bench, or you got Green coming off your bench. You trading KPJ. You see what I'm saying? No matter what happens next with the Rockets, they're gonna have to trade young talent. That's essentially what I'm here to say. No matter what. Question is who and when. And when you make that decision, you got to make sure it ain't the wrong one. And I don't know you can. I don't know that anything these kids are gonna show you can help you understand what decision you need to make. But I can tell you this. Victor ain't the one you let go of. I tell you that. If you had a chance at a Victor, you need to stay on that path. So I'm curious to see what happens with the Rockets, man. Because I wouldn't necessarily know what to do right now. I definitely wouldn't do anything, but I'm not sure if it wouldn't make sense to start thinking about what this all ends up becoming in the event we get lucky and get that pick. Because I'm telling you right now, Alperen Sengun is a two-way star center. He does fantastic things on the defensive end. He does fantastic things on the offensive end. You mess around and let him leave your organization, draft Victor Wembanyama, there's no guarantee that you ain't going to want Alperen Sengun back. You're going to want him back. Even with Victor, you're going to want him back. That's one of them type of situations. Jalen Green, same thing. So in my mind, it's probably Jabari Smith I get rid of if I had to choose one, just because he's the one that got off to the slow start. He's the one whose draft stock fell on draft day. He's the one that ultimately other teams can fit into any situation because of his skill set, defensive and stretching the floor. He's a guy who, if you're the Lakers, you overpay for. Like, whatever they want, you give it to them. If they're going to give us Jabari Smith, you give him 2 picks. You give him, you know what I'm saying? Because that's the type of talent he's ultimately going to be for a team like us or a team like the Nets. We should be giving up everything we can to acquire him, even if he's potentially could be a bust. That's how real it is for these type of teams. So if you're the Rockets, you do that. In my mind, you might consider selling Jabari Smith for the high, knowing that some of these teams are desperate enough to do it, knowing that you're going to have a lottery pick to probably replace him with anyway next year. Simply put, because I'm not trading Sengun, I'm not trading Green, I'm not trading Eason, I'm not trading KPJ. You see what I'm saying? I ain't trading none of those dudes. So it's like, he's the one out, which is crazy. It's absolutely nuts, considering how bad, like I said, my team could use him right now. So it's one of the situations where it's like, this is what happens, man. The rich get richer as it pertains to bad teams keeping lottery picks and piling good young talent on top of good young talent. The teams can't stay together. The cap is not structured for them to be able to enjoy that type of dynasty success like that. You're not. So, yeah, that's just what it is for teams like that. In OKC as well, they got the exact same problem. Orlando's about to probably have that problem very soon. Detroit, too, if these lottery picks keep piling on top of each other, All these teams are getting the players that need to be everywhere else in order for the league to be balanced. So it is what it is, man. You let guys like Presti and the Celtics and them hoard all the picks. Now you can see what comes of that. All these guys are going to 1 or 2 teams. It's just ridiculous. But it is what it is, man. You got 2 teams mortgaging their entire futures. 3, 4 teams mortgaging their entire future. This is why you got all these lottery picks on top of each other. So, yeah, man, that's what it is. That's exactly what I'm looking at there. It's just the Houston Rockets. I'm afraid the fans are going to have to part ways with some very, very talented people. Simply put, you just see it coming down the pipeline. They can't keep everybody. So that's what I got to say, man. My name is BDO44. Thank you all for watching.